Tanks have been a staple in combat since they were first introduced in World War I. It's hard to imagine a combat zone without tanks, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. As incredible as tanks are, they come with a lot of drawbacks too. In fact, there have never been fewer tanks in service around the world today, at least not since World War II. There's no ignoring the fact that tanks are super expensive machines, and as they evolve to become more high-tech, they continue to climb in price. The current tank the US military uses, the M1 Abrams, costs a cool $10 million each. The popular Leopard 2 from Germany is a bit more cost-effective at about $6 million a pop. And in our opinion, it's not only cheaper, but also better than the M1 Abrams. If you want to know why, we made a video explaining why the Leopard 2 tank is the best tank ever made, so be sure to check it out. The high price of tanks means fewer on the battlefield, making the loss of a single unit pretty devastating. Tanks are also extraordinarily complex and costly to operate and maintain. Tank crew need extensive training, parts are difficult to source, and repairs take a lot of time. Plus, even getting the tanks where they need to be is a logistical nightmare. It's not as simple as driving on over to the battlefield. We've covered this in detail in an earlier video. Even when tanks are crewed by teams who have the skills, training, and supplies they need to run their machines like the badass war bosses they are, it's becoming an ongoing struggle to keep tank technology up to speed with weapons development and availability. Anti-tank weapons used to be expensive and only effective at close range. Anti-tank weapons appeared right after the first tanks rolled out. Early anti-tank weapons were grenades and large-caliber rifles designed to damage tanks' armor or disable their tracks. Those weapons were quickly rendered obsolete with improvements in tank design. But today, tanks face threats like rocket-propelled grenades, anti-tank missiles, high-velocity autocannons, and seriously large and powerful tank guns. Even if the tank's countermeasures and armor keep its crew safe, a single hit from one of these weapons can mean weeks of costly repairs. The anti-tank guided missile called the Javelin takes only a few days of training to use with deadly accuracy, and can be purchased for less than $100,000. Taking out a $10 million tank with a weapon that costs under $100K is a seriously good ROI. Tanks are designed to work best in conventional warfare. Two sides face each other on a battlefield using mainly artillery weapons against each other. But conflicts with terrorist groups and nations not interested in abiding by their traditional rules of war have introduced an onslaught of biological, chemical, and nuclear weapons. Not to mention, combat is becoming more asymmetrical in many cases. Non-state actors use devastating hidden weapons like IEDs, terrain strategies that put tanks at a disadvantage, and civilian information sharing to thwart more powerful enemies. Despite these challenges, tanks remain vital to any military's combat strategy. But some future scenarios and technologies could leave the tank a relic of the past. We've already seen an increased use of cyber warfare, and as it continues to gain importance, it could seriously mess with the tank's domination. The British have even considered scrapping their tanks entirely to devote more time and resources to cyber warfare and other modern warfare needs. The reality is that there will always be a budget to work within, and the more money a nation pumps into building and maintaining its tanks, the less they have to put towards new technologies. This could especially be a problem for militaries whose tanks have already fallen behind in the race against weapons development, like we've seen with the older Russian tanks. Cyber warfare offers a battlefield that is completely unrestricted by geography and rules of war. Cyber attacks can range from state-sponsored infiltration to disrupt enemy information systems, to individual hackers trying to make a political statement. Offensive cyber attacks have become common at all levels. Cyber weapons built on software vulnerabilities can take out networks that drive a nation's healthcare, manufacturing, power, transportation, and more. In the future, it's possible that war will become digital, with nations attacking each other through cyberspace without ever stepping foot on a battlefield. No tanks needed. Another growing threat to tanks is armed drones, which provide a cheap and simple way for enemy forces to attack from the air. Turkish-made TB2s have already destroyed tons of armor in conflicts in Libya, Syria, and Ukraine. They use laser-guided bombs to take out tanks from the air. And the American Switchblade, a dive-bombing drone that explodes on impact, is a cutting-edge example of the devastation drones may wreak on ground forces and tanks in future wars. It's possible that enemies will slap more and more armor on their tanks to increase their protection from drone attacks. Still, it's just as likely that they will shift their focus to autonomous ground vehicles that are less protected but way cheaper. After all, it doesn't make much sense to send humans into that kind of danger when AI tech could do the same job at a fraction of the cost. It's not just AI air forces that pose a serious threat to the tank's future. Unmanned ground vehicles mounted with Javelin anti-tank missiles and 50 cal machine guns are already being tested for use in combat. These anti-tank robots can haul cargo, fitted with modules for specific tasks like IED clearance and casualty evacuation, and can do it all while being remotely controlled by people safely out of the line of fire. Israel and South Korea already use armed robots to patrol their borders. The US Army is testing kits that can transform standard vehicles into autonomous ones, along with new AI ground vehicles. Next-generation combat vehicles, or NGCVs, are showing incredible adaptability, unmatched interconnectivity, and lightning-fast communication. According to the US Army, NGCVs could enhance the speed and accuracy of tactical movements while minimizing the need to mobilize scout troops. Militaries could send out a massive swarm of robotic forces for the cost of a single tank, while keeping their human forces safer. The financial advantages of AI warfare can't be ignored. It's pretty indisputable that there is already enough evidence to suggest that future wars will look very different than they do today. But not everyone agrees that the tank is on its last legs. Some experts point to the fact that tanks have been declared obsolete each time a new anti-tank weapon has been invented. But so far, tanks have proved critics wrong. And while nations with large, highly developed militaries may embrace modern warfare strategies that make tanks obsolete, there will likely always be conflicts with smaller, poorly equipped non-state actors that tanks can dominate on the ground. Tanks are crucial in fire support for ground forces. They're also deeply ingrained in our psyche as omens of power and war. A tank rolling onto a vulnerable area sends a visible, undeniable message to anyone, anywhere in the world. Here at Get Around How, we think a better question to ask about tanks becoming obsolete is, will crude tanks become obsolete? Because let's get real. Tanks have been declared obsolete since their inception, and yet they've continued to evolve, becoming stronger, faster, and more capable with each decade. There's no reason to assume they won't continue to do so. The tanks of the future may look very different than the Abrams and Leopards of today, but they will still be, at their core, tanks. And we can't wait to see what they'll be capable of. What do you think the future of tanks will look like? Will they be obsolete? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Get Around How.